Hello, everybody. This is Jeff Twardowski with You Be Successful. In this video, I will show you how to add more functionality to your forms and views for our first Domino application. Again, we only have one assumption for this video. You have access to the Domino Designer and your first Domino application. Let's get started. Welcome back to our problems and answer application. Let's make a few changes that will improve our users' effectiveness. Go to the Domino Designer and open the problem and answer application. Start with the problem and answer form. The author's name is the individual who created the problem document. We can see in our example that I type in the user's name. The Notes client will know which user is logged in. Let's take advantage of that. Go to Help. Look at the formula language. I can't stress enough the value of utilizing Help. There's so much information that can help you with your application development. Scroll down to @username. @username returns the current user's name. Notice all the information relative to one command. Scroll down and look at the example. The first example returns the username in a canonicalized format. See the example of one here. Not quite what we want. Look at this one utilizing both @name and @username. This function will provide the name in the format we are looking for. Go to @name to see if there's any additional options. In this help entry for @names, we can see that there are two parameters. The first one is the action. Second one is the name. For the second parameter of the @name, we want to use the @username to provide the user's name for the formula. For the first parameter of the name, we're looking to use CN. CN stands for common name and returns one of three options depending upon its usage. In our case, we want to use the first one where @name returns the common part of the name. Scroll through this help document so you can see what additional parameters are available. As we continue to scroll, we come across examples to help us understand how @name works. Go back to Domino Designer. Make sure you have the author field selected. Select the default value. On the right, we will enter our formula. @name, left parentheses, left square bracket, CN, right square bracket, semicolon, @username, right parentheses. Click the check mark to test that our formula doesn't contain any syntax error. Save the formula and preview in the Notes client. As a reminder, press Ctrl S to save. Select the preview and Notes icon to see the form in the Notes client. Notice the name is populated in the author field. While we would have expected to see a familiar name, in this environment, my name is admin. Everything is working correctly. The next field we wish to examine is create date. The computer knows what's today's date, so we ought to use that to automate supplying the date to the user. Return to the Domino Designer. Double click on the create date field to bring up the property box. When we created the field, it defaulted to text. We want the field to be a date time field. Select the triangle on the right to identify a list of all the field types. Changes to date and time. One of the advantages to utilizing the date and time property is if we sort a view by the date, it's smart enough to be sorted correctly. The text field starts sorting all the numbers from left to right. I'm sure we've all seen the app that has a date column sorted, and we see January dates followed by October dates with no considerations for the year. Go to the second tab. When recording information into the date time field, both the date and time is recorded. We can utilize the second tab setting to control whether to show the date, show the time, or show both. To get started, let's show both the date and time. Return to the first tab. If we're going to have the user enter the date and time information, we could utilize the calendar type controls to assist in data input. We have seen examples of this control when scheduling meetings or appointments in our mail. We don't need the calendar time controls because we want to automate the date and time insertion. Return to the form. Make sure the create date is selected. On the left-hand side, make sure the default value has been selected. What formula do we want to put in our default value? Go to help and see what formulas are available. Here's one called at now. At now returns the current date and time. At now has several parameters to differentiate itself between local and server data time. Scroll down to see the example. Notice the first one returns the date and time. This formula is exactly what we want. You notice I highlighted the formula. We can type the formula or we can cut and paste it. Return to the Domino Designer, and for the default value of create date field, add at now. Save the form and preview in the Notes client. The date time showed up exactly as we wanted. Notice that the information in the box is a little cramped. Let's increase the width of the column to accommodate all the information. This is a problem that I suffer through occasionally, where the width of one of the columns will shrink. In this case, it's the last column. However, any of the columns can shrink. As we work through this lesson, watch this column because it will shrink again. If you have this issue, please let me know in the comments below. If it's just me, I'll deal with it. If others are experiencing this also, I will report it to HCL. Return to the Domino Designer. Select the last column. Notice the measurement shrink from 1.5 inches to 0.9. Change the column width to 2 inches. Save the form and preview in Notes. All the information regarding the date and time created is displayed properly. Later, we will change the create date field so users won't be able to change them. Let's change the date completed so it functions properly. Return to the Domino Designer. Double-click Complete Date. Change the type from text to date and time. Select the Calendar Time Control. Go to the second tab. Do we want the date, the time, or both displayed? Let's only show the date. Save the form and preview in the Notes client. When the problem and answers are ready to be completed, user can click on the date control and select today's date. The problem is they can put in tomorrow's date, a date from last week. I'll show you later how we can control that. Return to the Domino Designer. Let's improve the functionality of the status field. Double-click on the status field. Change the field type from text to radio button. Select the second tab. The first thing you'll notice that the details on the second tab change because the field type has been changed. Add some choices to the status radio button. Active, completed, waiting for more info. These entries will show up in order on the screen. That's why we put waiting for more information above completed. You may click on the sort button to sort our choices in alphabetical order. Save the form and preview in the Notes client. We can see the three choices for our status. Can you see the issue with our status? Nothing forces the user to select the first one. We can resolve this with a default value. Technically, all problems are active when they're first created. Return to the Domino Designer, select the status field, make sure the default value is selected in the objects, enter the default value we want for this field. Because we are working with strings, we place quotes around the word active. Save the form and preview in the Notes client. Notice that active is already selected. This prevents the user from leaving the field blank. As the problem resolver, I could email the originator for more information. I could change the status to waiting for more info so we would know that the ticket is being processed. Lastly, we can mark the document as completed and set the completed date. How can we improve the priority field? Return to the Domino Designer, double-click the priority field, change the field type to checkbox. We are using this field type to see how this functions on the form. We wanted the checkbox to go across instead up and down. Change the number of columns to 3, and for our choices, let's use 1, 2, and 3. If I didn't type them in the proper order, we could click the sort button to help. Save the form, preview in the Notes client. We can see the checkboxes on the priorities. In this case, we have one issue. A user could select more than one priority. Imagine the struggle the IT department would have with a ticket that is both a number 1 priority and a number 3 priority. How about 1, 2, and 3? That would make it confusing. For the priority field, checkboxes won't work. Return to the Domino Designer. Change the priority field from checkbox to radio button. Set the default value to 2. One more change to the radio button. Change the number of columns from 3 to 1. Add quotes to the default value. Save the form and preview in the Notes client. I wish there was something we could do with categories. To solve our categories, we're going to create a view for the field to populate them from. Return to the Domino Designer. On the left-hand side, select Views. To create a view, select the New View button at the top. Give the view a name by category. We can also select which view to copy in this view. As we only have one view by title, we can use that. Select Save and Customize button. We can see all the details that we had in the by title view, except this view is by category. Add a column by double-clicking on a blank space in the View column bar. Change the title to category. Drag and drop the column category to the front of all the columns. Select the second tab. Select Ascending for the sort parameter. Change the column value. Select Field. Select Category. Save the view and preview in the Notes client. The first two categories to display are from our test documents, and they are Department and Stuff. These category names could use some improvement. We will clean them up later. Return to the Domino Designer. Select the Problem and Answer form. Double-click the category field to display the dialog box. Change the field type from text to dialog. Select the second tab. We could add choices such as R&D, sales, and operations. While these choices are functional, we do have two potential problems. The first, to add additional choices would require us to go in and modify this application. The second issue is how do we allow entries not in the list? We can get around this by selecting allow values not in the list. Let's review our form and see if it meets our needs. Save the form and preview in the Notes client. Select the triangle to the right of the category field. We have selected the keyword dialog box with three choices: R&D, sales, operations, plus a new keyword location we can type in a new category. Type in IT at the bottom and select OK. Notice IT showed up in the category. Let's populate this document and save it. While this could work, the issue is the multitude of ways that people think about the IT department. Someone might add IT, another information technology, another system, support, tech. The list goes on and on. Return to the Domino Designer. On the left, let's right-click by category. Select Preview, Notes. Here's our view by category. Notice IT showed up in the list. We see IT in the list, but I don't remember seeing department and stuff in our dialog. Let's preview the form again. Select the triangle by category. In our keyword dialog box, we have the three choices that we programmed into the application. However, IT, department, and stuff doesn't display. If I want IT to show up in the list, I have to return to the Domino Designer, open the problem and answer for, double-click the category, select the second tab, and add IT to our choices. We hear about the power of Domino. Let's see if we can improve upon this. Go to Views, select by category, add an alias to the by category view. Remember, an alias is an alternate name for the Domino object that we can program to allow the original name to change. Single click where the alias goes, add lookup underscore category. Adding lookup underscore is a little convention I use so future programmers would know that somewhere there is code using this view as a lookup. Return to the problem and answer form. Can we find a formula in help that would improve our situation? In help, scroll near the top to find @db column. @db column returns column of values from a view. Look at all these parameters: class, cache, server. What does all that mean? We can look through the parameter details to see the meaning of each parameter. As we scroll down, we see @db column returns a list of values. At the bottom is an example that will help us. The first entry is two double quotes. These represent both the class and the cache since they are a list. Note the colon. Second entry represents the server and the database. We represent those with double quotes, which means local, and the database name is hard-coded to inventory.nsf. These entries are separated by a colon. Next, we need a view name. The example is inventory on hand. Last, we have a column number of the entry we want to use. Copy this code. Return to our form and double-click on our category field. Go to the second tab, change Enter Choices to Use Formula for our choices. We received an error message. An operator or semicolon was expected, but none was encountered. Sales. Select OK. We received this error message because we did not clear out our entries first, and Domino Designer tried to evaluate them as a formula. Don't panic. We can delete our entries now and add our formula. Paste in the example formula. Let's change it to match our application. Remove the database name from the formula. This is telling the formula to use our current database. This handy little trick allows the formula to continue to work regardless of where the database is located. Next, change the inventory on hand to the alias of the view we want to use for looking up our categories. Type LKUP underscore category. Because we use the alias name, this allows us to go back and change the title of the view in the future without impacting its formula. Lastly, change the number 2 to the number 1. This represents the column we're going to look up. In our view, our categories are in the first column. Select Done. Select X to close the dialog box. Save the form and preview it. Select the triangle pointing arrow to see the categories in our list. We have Department, IT, and Stuff. Go back to our category view and see in our first column, Department, IT, and Stuff. To see our form in action, let's create a problem and an answer for the sales department. Select category. Go to the bottom where it says New Keyword. Add the word Sales. Select OK. For our title, this is a sales question. Press Escape to get to the sales document dialog box. Select Yes. We just added a sales category to the problem and answer application. Let's see how it works. Select Create, Problem and Answer. Select the category view. Notice that sales is now one of our choices. Select Sales. Select OK. For our title, type in second sales question. Save this document. Let's examine our problem and answer form. Notice at the top it says Untitled. Let's change this title to something useful. Let's explore help to see some of our choices. A formula we like to use is @isNewDocument. This is one of those primary functions that you'll use quite a bit. This formula returns a 1 if the document has never been saved, or a 0 if the document has already been saved to the database. Scroll down to the examples and notice there is an if statement utilizing the @isNewDocument. If @isNewDocument, then set the phrase to new document, else set it to subject. This is very close to what we want. We called our subject title. Copy the formula. Let's go back to our form. Near the bottom, under Objects, we can see an entry for our window title. Select Window Title, paste the formula, change the subject to Title. Let's add P ampersand sign A space in front of our new document. Let's also add P ampersand A space in front of title. Because the title is a variable, we need to add the string P ampersand and space within quotes and a plus sign to concatenate to connect the string. Watch your quotes very carefully. Press the check mark to validate our formula. Everything looks good. Save the form and preview. Notice our tab title says P&A New Document. That works exactly how we had hoped it would. Let's open up an existing document. Notice this window title is P&A. This is an IT problem. It matches the information we put in the title field. Looking good. A number of companies may stop developing this application at this point. We can collect and display data, and in this case, problems and answers. Go to our next video to see how we're programming this application. Look for the link below.